This is the Hunt Quietly podcast. I'm Matt Ranella. It's weird because I work on technical stuff all day long, every day.
Do you actually get nervous when you do this, or are you kidding?
When I first start, I get a little nervous. I'm already over it.
Okay.
I'm already over it, and we're only 20 seconds in. But yeah, right beforehand. And, you know, it's jarring because I work on technical stuff all day long. Last 3 weeks, I've done nothing at work except program computers all day. And then to come out of that, which I enjoy, and then do something like really kind of intimate and social. It's got to be the complete opposite side of the brain.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know anything about brain anatomy, but so I'm here with a group of fellas tonight, 5 of them, and what we're gonna do a group discussion, and I'm gonna start out by laying out the rationale for that. I've got Joe Hogan from Missouri, Scott Fitzwilliams from Colorado, Cameron Weddington from Tennessee, Robert Reardon from Oregon, right? And I said 5 people because I was counting myself, you know. Like we look like, you guys watch the Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
You know, like got all the little squares. So yeah, there's 5 including me. So I was like, who is the 5th person? And then I was like, oh yeah, it's myself. So I think of the Hunt Quietly milieu of activities, whatever you want to call it. It seems a little arrogant to call it a movement because it's just not big enough to call it that. The effort, the media conglomerate, that sounds even more arrogant. But I think of it as the place, the only place that is unapologetically, unequivocally for high quality, publicly accessible, non-pay hunting. I think anywhere else that you go in the hunting sphere, whether it be a nonprofit, a hunting celebrity, a hunting manufacturer, you're going to encounter a group or an organization that is either 100% working against high quality, publicly accessible, non-pay hunting, or is working at cross purposes, doing some things that are beneficial to hunt quality and some things that are negative to hunt quality. So the point being, high quality, publicly accessible hunting is why we do this podcast. That is what we are devoted to without compromise. And being that that's the case, I spend a considerable amount of time interviewing hunters that fly below the radar, that are not well known, because I'm interested in understanding their perspective on the state of hunting in the United States and what they think would make it better. And because I have a sense of, I have some strong beliefs about what the barriers to high quality hunting are. And by talking to other people, I'm open to, my those beliefs being challenged a bit, to revising them. Oftentimes the people I interview corroborate my feelings about the barriers to high quality hunting. So I spent a lot of time just talking to regular 9 to 5 workaday hunters. I get another reason for that is every time I've tried to talk to a hunting celebrity, we just kind of talk past each other, and a lot of times it ends up going off the rails. It's like I did a fair number of those kinds of episodes early on talking to hunting celebrities, and they just became kind of redundant. I always found myself in this position of feeling like the person I was talking to didn't believe what they were saying. You know, it often just felt like I was talking to somebody that was being disingenuous, and I think it's because they're just in a tough position. You know, it's hard to argue that hunting publicity and promotion has negative consequences for the existing hunting community. So, what I have not done, though, and this is the goal of this episode and another one that we're going to record with another panel in a couple days, that, again, thanks to Joe for setting these up, is I've not had a group of hunters with diverse perspectives from various parts of the country on collectively to talk about issues confronting the hunting community together. This is like the new wrinkle here. And what's interesting to me about that is, like, I know the sorts of questions I like to ask when I'm talking to a hunter, but, you know, what do other people like to ask? What are other people curious about when they're hearing somebody talk about their hunting experiences and they live in a different part of the country? You know, so in a sense, one goal for me personally is this. I think episodes like this could help me refine my interviewing skills by getting a peek into what piques other people's curiosity about other hunters in other parts of the U.S. So I really appreciate you guys coming on for that reason. And we don't have a real strict agenda here. I have some questions written down that we can use to guide the discussion, but I have kind of gotten the sense that very regimented discussions tend to be flat and not very appealing, at least to me. I feel like I have the sense that when I'm interested in the discussion, probably other people are too. So the less scripted, the more free flowing the conversation is, generally, I find, the better it is. So we have some questions that we'll throw out there. You guys, I encourage you to ask follow-up questions as we go along, and we'll just discuss whatever comes up. And maybe we'll end up on one tiny little topic and we'll never even leave it. But if that's where this goes, that's fine. But we just have a broad objective to get simultaneously some perspectives on the state of hunting in America from a group of people from around the country. So with that, I'd like you to have you guys give me your background in, a minute or two, just where we already covered where you're from, but maybe reiterate that, because we got to get the voices linked to the locations and people. And so tell me, remind us where you're from, maybe how long you've been hunting, and what sorts of hunting you do. We'll start in my upper left corner and work clockwise. I don't know if that's the same. If you guys
Is that
are,
me?
yeah, that's you.
Okay.
Cameron.
Okay. Hey guys, Cameron Weddington. I'm from Tennessee. I've been hunting all kind of stuff my entire life since I can remember, essentially from probably age 10 or 11. And I would say nowadays I'm more like specialized in turkey hunting is by far my passion and my thing that I do. And then I also do a lot of duck hunting and, I'll do some small game and other, fishing and outdoor activities, but turkey hunting is my number one passion, all over the country, but especially here in the Southeast. So there you go.
Last time we talked, Cameron, and I was
Yeah.
just listening to a little bit of that episode.
Yeah.
You were just about to go to Hawaii and go turkey hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an awesome trip with the wife and some friends and killed 3 big Rio gobblers on the island of Hawaii. And
wow, they let you kill that many?
yeah, it's a bag limit of 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I killed my 3 in 3 mornings. So it's pretty good.
have you been back there since?
I have not. That's kind of a big trip and really fun, but there's other parts of the country I want to see before I go back. I probably will go back. I've got, my brothers and I had a friend go too, and we all took our spouses and we had the best time, doing the beach basically for the second half of the day and hunting in the morning. And it was awesome. So I'll probably go back one day, but not in a huge hurry. That's kind of that flight's pretty killer from Tennessee.
Oh man, I just flew to Nairobi.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's got nothing on that.
That was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had.
Yeah. I've got New Zealand coming up in September going turkey hunting in New Zealand. So
dang.
Yeah.
That's serious.
Where
do you hunt? What land do you hunt on turkeys in Hawaii?
So I did a guided hunt for one bird.
Uh-huh.
And then they have public land there.
Oh, okay.
So you can hunt a couple different areas of public land. It's pretty vast, just one giant block of public land, essentially. And the public I killed 2. That makes it sound like it's easy. It was not. It was actually pretty darn difficult. I just happened to get exceptionally lucky on the first one. The second one, it didn't involve much luck. I did well there, but the first one was really lucky.
And what subspecies do they have there?
In Hawaii or New Zealand? Okay, Hawaii has Rios, and New Zealand has Merriams.
Okay.
Yeah, so beautiful, beautiful turkeys. I killed a gorgeous Rio in Hawaii that I have in the freezer that I plan to mount, and really looking forward to New Zealand. They're a nuisance over there. They really want you to come kill them, and so there's no bag limit, no season dates. I think we're gonna try to kill 6 apiece, and it'll be fun.
How did you arrive at that number?
I don't know. If they tell me I can shoot 10, I might shoot 10.
Well, did you just say there's no bag limit?
Yeah, no bag limit. The guide kind of said it's a suggested bag of 6.
Okay, he's trying to conserve the resource.
Kinda, but he's actually in a pickle of they have so many turkeys, flocks of 1,000. There's no predators, and they're just going nuts. And these farmers are shooting them all and just leaving them laying because they're screwing up their farms and stuff. And so he's trying to convince the farmers to let him bring people to pay him to shoot the turkeys rather than them just kill them all. And so it's actually in a weird way, it's beneficial to go over there and just mow them down for them, which is, sounds foreign here, but sounds great for a week.
Maybe NWTF should lease a ship and go over there and get 10,000 of them.
Send all the CEOs over there and have a big time.
They'll claim habitat accomplishments, Matt.
Yeah, they conserved the entire South Island of New Zealand.
Right.
I like that.
All right, Scott, what you got? Oh, I forgot to mention that you guys are all, except for Robert, you guys are all repeat guests. So when we were assembling these two panels tonight, and we're going to do another one of these with a different group a couple nights from now. Yeah, Joe said, "Who do you think we should have on?" And you guys are the cream that rose to the top, having been on before, and me really enjoying our discussions in the past. So it's a great honor that you guys got invited back to my elite podcast, you know.
No pressure on me.
Yeah, huge honor.
Now questioning the caliber of your guests if I got back.
Hey, everyone. I'm Scott Fitzwilliams. I live out in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Originally from Wisconsin, just straight across the pond from Matt, where you grew up, Lake Michigan. What I hear about you and your two brothers' childhood, mine was exactly the same. Anyway, started hunting as young as I can remember, and all things that, deer hunting and duck hunting and squirrels and rabbits and everything else, and trapping and fishing and all those things. And but I moved to Colorado for graduate school in like '89, and then I started Western hunting, and this is my second day of my deferred retirement after 34 years with the U.S. Forest Service, where I bounced all around the West, got to experience some cool stuff hunting, and I lived in Wyoming, North Dakota, Idaho, Oregon, Alaska, and then back to Colorado, where I started graduate school. So hunting all kinds of critters in all those different places, and feel very grateful to have that. And then, not so much, a little less now, but for the last 10, 15 years, just 10 years, I guess, 10, 11, taking my kid, and, the joy of having someone to take and hunt with. And he's busy working now and stuff out of college, but been a lot of time doing that. And, your whole perspective of hunting changes a little bit when you're doing that. And, trying to teach as opposed to just chase something down. And, but it's good. I've had a lot of great experiences, done a lot of different things. Now in Colorado, I chase elk as much as I can when it's not too crowded, which is not very often anymore, and mule deer. And uh, Cam, I got to learn more about turkey hunting because I am not very good at it.
It's not fun. I wouldn't even go. Terrible.
Yeah, don't do it.
It's such a great critter, but man, they outsmart me more often than not.
That's the fun part about it.
Oddly enough, we have a growing population here in Colorado, and more places on public land. Not a lot of folks out there. So if you haven't hunted here, you need to put that on your list.
Yeah, I have,
unlike
and
a lot of parts,
yeah,
a lot of parts of the country, I've heard that turkey numbers aren't as good, but here they're getting really solid, and it's a different hunt. It's, you don't sit as much, you chase them a little more, and
no doubt.
so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, you got.
So anyway, good to meet you guys all, and look forward to hearing more from you. I'm turkey hunting in New Zealand. Just that's hard to beat.
So what Scott didn't say is, before yesterday, he was the manager of the, is that the title? Forest supervisor for the White River National Forest, which is the largest in spatial extent, right? And most visited in Colorado.
Most visited. It's not the largest.
Okay.
Let's say the Toyabe's bigger. I think it's about fourth or fifth. It's 2.5 million acres. It's a zoo. It's the forest with all the ski areas on it: Vail, Beaver Creek, Aspen, Snowmass, Copper Mountain, A Basin, Keystone, all those ski areas around our forest. So it's a busy place, but some great country. And I just finished up 34-year career. Yesterday was my first day of not working, which is a weird ass feeling, guys.
Yeah. So what has the last 36 hours been like? What do you finding stuff to do?
Oh yeah, I volunteered to help a friend, and I've been working my ass off for 2 straight days, helping with the house things and building stuff, and so I got a few blisters and sore back, but it's all good.
No, good. I trust you're going to stay busy and and do a lot of good things that benefit your loved ones and the community more generally.
For sure.
I know you'll do a lot of good things in your retirement. You got a lot of youth left in you.
I do.
Yeah. All right, Robert.
Okay. How you guys doing? Robert Reardon. I live in Sandy, Oregon, which is just the west foothills of Mount Hood, about 20 minutes from government camp, and hunt mostly on the mountain. We have pretty decent, I don't know if I should say this or not, but pretty decent general hunting in Oregon. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, kind of eastern side near the Pennsylvania, West Virginia kind of quadrant there in that little bottom area, and mostly whitetail back there and things like that. Got my first bow in high school and kind of like fell in love with archery. In fact, this year, a group of guys and myself have committed to hunting elk with trad bows. So I've been shooting every single day to make sure that whenever and if ever I get the chance, I'll be able to make it a good chance and a good opportunity. Like I said, we've got pretty good elk numbers in Oregon, decent black-tailed deer. But yeah, I've been hunting. I'll be 53 this year. I've been hunting since high school, so took a little time off during college, bounced around the country a bit, wandered up out west, and just really more than anything looking forward to. I was going to comment on something Matt said when he introed earlier about the size of the community and people that see this as viable. I think it's much bigger than, I reached out to a couple of people and I didn't get to talk to anybody today. I had some work that kind of preceded my ability to chat with them. I wanted to gather even more ideas if I could, but I think there's a lot of people that see this as a necessary counterpoint to what's happening. And if anything, just to kind of slow everybody back down a little bit and sort of, the appreciation for things that are so whitewashed like this, it kind of affects all of it. You start to feel like it's not as great as you remember. And, hunting season, I don't know who else bow hunts, but September is a sacred month. Got married at the very end so that nothing would ever interfere with the anniversary. We got to keep the ladies happy, and so now it's I do find it really an interesting thing, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. Not a whole lot more than that at this point, though.
How long have you lived in Oregon?
This is a 23rd year.
Okay. So Robert, if you can turn your mic down just a little bit.
Okay.
Not a big deal, but I thought
I'll see if I can figure that out.
And finally, Joe.
Yeah, my name's Joe Hogan. And Matt, I've not been on one of your podcasts in the past.
Oh, duh. Right.
You and I
we've talked a lot. Yeah,
we've talked a lot. I bugged you enough that you probably are just used to hearing my voice. Lifelong hunter and outdoorsman. Actually, one of the thoughts that kind of came to mind for me is that, and I'm curious if anybody else out there relates to this. When I grew up, hunting wasn't the thing. It was a thing that was part of a broader idea of being a well-rounded outdoorsman, if that makes any sense. So like the people that mentored me, the idea was that you wanted to be able to be safe and comfortable and capable in the outdoors across a broad spectrum of activities. And hunting was one of the ways that you did that. And so that's kind of the mindset that I've always approached these things. At least that's where I came from. Now, obviously, hunting is my preferred outdoor activity. I do more of that than anything else. But when I was a kid, if someone would have said to us, I'm a year-round whitetail hunter, that it does now, but even like no one would have said that. Now it's like a flex. People brag about that, that they do one thing specifically all the time.
If they're not picking up sheds, they're scouting.
Right, exactly.
Prepping trees. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a brag. And that would have struck me as a very immature, short-sighted set of goals. And so that's kind of how I approach hunting, is just part of a bigger thing, if that makes any sense. And I think that's one of the reasons that the whole hunting culture that has sprung up around influencers and the competitive nature of it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And it kind of dovetails into something you were saying at the beginning here, Matt, that, do we call this a movement? Is it Matt Rinella's Hunt Quietly empire? Whatever you want to. But I think a good way to put it is it's just a mindset, because although there may not be a ton of people that are necessarily, members of this specific subset, I think a lot of us would say when you're out talking to other people, a lot of people feel this way. And probably the reason all of us are here is because we kind of, you managed to put it into words. You managed to sort of articulate what a lot of us had a sense of, things that we were frustrated with. And somebody was finally, laying it out in a bullet point fashion that a person could say, yeah, that's exactly it. That's what I'm struggling with in the direction hunting is taken. But anyway, primarily whitetail guy in the fall and turkeys in the spring, like everybody else here. I have a lot of other hunts that I do, but those are kind of my bread and butter hunts. And I live just south of the state line here in Missouri. Most of my life is in Iowa. And then the property that I live on a small little chunk of timber here. I've owned it for about 20 years, but I've only lived on it for the last 6. Moved down from Iowa and was able to, build our place, and now we're kind of hunkered down here. So,
yeah, I want to second something you said there. Like, well, yeah, when we were kids, it wasn't just that you hunted, and we did other things. We trapped, fished.
Right. Yeah, whatever. And that,
no,
I know what you're saying, though. I mean, but I don't know if I'm putting it into words well, but this idea of all I do is hunt. And that's my personality. That's what I sort of compete with other people in. I dress according to it. That just,
it's a lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah. And, when I was a kid, hunting was not cool. I mean, people used to tease me because they thought I was fixated on hunting too much.
Yeah.
I remember dressing up as a hunter for Halloween in elementary school and taking some shit for that, because they're like, all you do is talk about hunting, and now you can't even come up with something like else to be for Halloween,
Yeah. But you knew how to start a fire. You knew how to pick a campsite. You could keep a canoe upright and moving water. I'm assuming, just from generally what I know about you.
No, I can't do any of that now. Yeah, sure. I picked up a few skills for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. It just comes about, like, just spending time in the out of doors. You kind of pick all that stuff up.
Well, it's also giving a shit about being in the outdoors and wanting to do things, being a student of the whole process, versus a guy that spent the most money on a camo suit and has the biggest lease and the most comfortable tree stand, which I think, unfortunately, at least here in the Midwest, you run into a lot of people that they they really don't know their way around the outdoors in general. They're specifically big buck whitetail hunters. They'll tell you that. And they don't have a general appreciation for the conservation aspect of it or the other finer points.
You know, I think that one thing that just ticks me off about people that I feel like are hunting for the gram, or, you know, not just for hide, horns, meat, and personal satisfaction, is because when I was a kid, I hunted for hide, horns, meat, and personal satisfaction to the detriment of my reputation amongst my peers. It wasn't something that got me extra cred.
Right.
It was like I got eye rolls. Like, why aren't you in football? You know?
Yeah.
And now it's like have such a huge number of people. I don't know if it's huge. It's some not insignificant fraction of the hunting community that are doing it for money or clicks. You know, it's just just drives me a little bit a baddie. You know.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, if I can jump in and add one thing, I think when we were kids, I don't know, we seem fairly similar in age, but when we were kids, am I too loud, Matt? By the way,
no, that's way better. Except for Cameron. Cameron's a whippersnapper.
Okay, well, Cameron excluded to a degree. You know, when we were young, we were learning and we were prioritizing something that was passed down from somebody, whether it's your grandpa, your father, your uncle, the neighbor, your buddy, whoever it was. You know, now that we're older, you know, and when I consider myself a hunter, I also do a little bit of snowboarding, ride motorcycles, play drums. I do some things, but what I really like the most, and I hate to say it, about the lifestyle point, is that for me, archery is a lifestyle. Traditional archery, especially if I'm not shooting that thing 5 days a week, the skills perish like a jug of milk out in the hot sun. It just goes away. You know, you have to kind of live it in a way. And so it becomes, I'm sure if you asked my wife, you know, she would probably complain about it to a degree that I'm down there every night, rain or shine. But the point that I think is important is that we're seeing these guys, and you could pick any one that pops into your memory or your mind from Instagram or YouTube or whatever. You know, it's about the sponsorships and it's about getting people to buy a certain thing. It's so much boils straight back down to the dollar.
Yep.
And it's about, you know, are Easton arrows the best? You know, is gold tip okay? What does so and so shoot? And when you enter this space, I've brought a few hunters under my wing over the years, and I'm sure you guys have too. It comes with all this, oh, well, I've got this because of this. And they've got these ties directly back to these people. And it's very clear why they chose what they chose. And so it's not about experience with a Full Metal Jacket arrow and how it penetrated and how you used it again and how these things that really do matter. It's about who said to get what. And that's the thing that really gets under my skin, is that probably any arrow you throw some feathers on, I could probably make it work at some point or another. You know, it's not so much that, it's just that we've been inundated with the greedy dollar profit thing, and this is so much better than that. It's way better than that. So I don't want to take the floor, but I just wanted to throw that in.
No, that's great.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You know, maybe I overstated that point. I was raised by people that hunted deer in red flannel and hunted turkeys in army surplus. Right. You know, because, well, first of all, that's what they had available, and you don't need any more than that. And right. Then, you know, like you, once I got into archery, I did start to focus and become a little bit more dialed in on one aspect. And that was about the time that the first like VHS influencers, you remember those guys, you know, the videotapes, the first dickheads that were doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember right away, just I didn't feel like they were off from the way I had learned to approach the outdoors. I'm not saying I didn't watch the stuff. I probably even paid full price for a few of them, but it was immediately, there was something different about their mentality and their appreciation for the process, as well as their honesty. You know, that was, they edit better now than they did probably in what was that? Matt, you probably know better than any of us. When would like the Bill Jordan and those guys first coming out with their crap?
If I know better, it's only because I've been studying this stuff the last few years, because I was never captivated by hunting media. But I don't know what was he on? Like there was
the Monster Buck.
Monster Bucks, okay. Yeah, and that was what, mid-80s? Mid to late 80s?
Maybe. I first became aware of it. I picked up my first bow in like 93 or 94.
Okay.
And that's about when I first started to, get focused in on trying to learn specifically about whitetails and a little bit more than what we used to do when we would gun hunt. It was pretty haphazard. And what's like you said, Robert, once you start archery hunting, that's not going to cut it if you want to be successful consistently.
Yeah.
So you turn to the things like
1991.
Okay. Yeah.
Chat GPT for the win.
Okay.
To pick up where Robert left off, it's gotten so obscene, the whole industry. It's not a how-to anymore. It's a what to buy anymore, and then the video and the slow motion and the kill shots and all that stuff. It is just so radically different. I think of it when you see a pharmaceutical commercial on TV and when they go through all the list of side effects.
Yeah.
If you actually stopped and listened to it, you'd go, "Oh my God, what's going to kill me first, the drug or this?" And I think of the same thing when I'll see this, go, "Why are we doing this?" And it's, we all know why. It's the promotion and everything else, and I just think it's just taken such a radical change, and then it's affecting. And Matt, you talk about this all the time. It's affecting people's ability to go out and take their kid out hunting like I like to do, because we can't find a damn place that isn't crawling with people. Or, I lived in North Dakota 3 years. I was there during the heyday, I guess. Or, there was only one paid, hunting area. It was the Cannonball Club, and that was the only land you had to stay off of there. Everywhere else you could go hunt birds till your head fell off. And now they're every square inch of that place, to find a place. I mean, there's some public land and some CRP and walk-in areas, but and that wasn't that long ago. It was less than 20 years ago that we've seen this shift. And I just, what I keep wondering is, in today's world where everyone has to post on Instagram what they had for dinner, or what they did, is there any end to this? And can it slow down? And I don't know.
Yeah, so that's a big thing driving me right there. To me, it's just it's an astounding fact that access has dwindled so much, and quality is diminished so much that, like, but when I think about, let's go back to 1991 and take out the TV and take out the social media, like, just if we had confined hunting media to a couple print magazines and then run the clock forward, I just think it'd be totally so much better. And who are the people, and like, who are the role models that hunters follow? The very people that did this to us.
Yeah.
So it's just comical to to me that how we ended up here and who caused it.
Yeah. Just a little disclosure kind of background on myself. I, at one point, was like ascending as a micro influencer almost in the turkey world, to be completely honest. So, like, I had Instagram and Facebook, and I posted, I travel all over the country shooting turkeys, having successful hunts, posting pictures with them and everything, and didn't really see a problem with it. And then I started just kind of noticing that, like, it got kind of weird. Like, people were offering their spots to me on public land, just like, hey, man, you should go here and send me a pin. And, like, I had a company fly me down and pay for an Osceola hunt for me to be in a commercial and, like, all this kind of stuff. And anyway, it was going on this trajectory. And finally, like, honestly, after my podcast with Matt and having a lot of thought about it, I was like, this is stupid. Like, I'm part of the problem. I may be making people want to go turkey hunting more. And the last thing on planet Earth I want is more people turkey hunting right now. It's already hard enough. And so I literally deleted my social media. Like, it's gone. And it's just I think it's still there, but I just got off it totally. I'm not doing it anymore. And I've been so happy these past, like, couple turkey seasons, not posting anything. I don't have to look at 5 million dead turkeys a day from everybody else that killed a turkey on days that I don't kill one, and have, like, this weird jealousy or something. And it's just, it's
Cam,
really
did it take pressure off? I mean, was there a peer pressure
so much
associated with that?
Yeah, because, you go out and you don't hear a gobble and you open Instagram, you're only going to see the million people that were successful that day.
Yeah.
All the other 10 million guys who didn't hear a gobble like you don't post. And then, you got dinguses these days who they kill one turkey and they take 8,000 photos with it in 40 different locations and they're posting it every day like they killed a new one every day.
Matt, maybe that's what we ought to do is we start posting unsuccessful days.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I like
a long line of posts.
Pretty picture or boots or whatever. We'll do, I mean, we won't have anyone click on us, but
that's a great idea. And then there's also, like, a contingent, like, one of the arguments for the status quo is that I'm just sharing my story. I'm sharing the story. So it's like, we could have that, like, you show unsuccessful days, and then also you tell your story and even have a picture of the dead thing, but it's anonymous. You don't know who it is.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
This would be the least, we'd get the least amount of submissions probably than any other hunting
it's funny.
related platform.
I have, like, one of my great hunting memories. My family, so I'm here from the Midwest, but my family's from the Adirondacks. And when I was in my early 20s, I went back there, hunted with my grandfather, my uncle, and my dad. It was just a fantastic hunt from a traditional camp up there in the North Woods. And, those of you that have hunted those kind of areas, it's buck only. It's not trophy hunting. You feel fantastic if anybody in your party shoots a buck, for that matter. And I remember going to the bar one night, and a guy pulls in, and he had a really nice buck. And he walked in, and he, no one knew him. He was just a guy that traveled to the area, bought a round for the house, or, he was feeling great. Everybody was happy for him. One guy at a time to go up, buy him a shot or whatever, and he'd tell the story. And that was cool and pure, in my opinion. Yeah, he was bragging and he was happy, but he wasn't being a dickhead about it. And it was personal. And I'll never forget that night, of everybody having a good time and just celebrating this dude's deer. I don't think there's anything wrong with that impulse, but social media takes it and turns it into something dirty and creepy really fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For
sure.
A heartfelt congratulations from a guy that you just met in the bar when you shot a nice buck. I don't think there's anything impure about that. But seeing all these, watching your like count go up, hoping that other people will share your pictures, that kind of stuff, it gets gets nasty fast.
Oh, it turns hunting into a popularity contest.
Yeah.
Which I think is terrible for access. It's like that's what makes people lease up a bunch of land so that they can be the big guy on Instagram next year, you know?
I think it's weird to put hearts on another grown man's photo.
There's that too, yeah.
Well, hey, not to mention.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of people probably start coming from that place of, hey, I had a great day. I'm happy about this, and I want people to see it. I don't think the impulse at its beginning is a negative one.
I still have the impulse.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want, and I say this a lot because I don't want people to think I don't have the impulse to brag. I just think it's bad for hunting.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. And, you know, in reference to what Cameron said about gobbles, if you've hunted elk in the West at all, you may not hear any bugles. You may not hear any cow calling. You may not see an elk. I mean, you could hunt out here all season and not see an elk. The country's big. It's vast. They were here yesterday, but guess what? They're 10 miles from here today. And, you know, what happens that I've noticed is that the mystique of the bugle, the seeing that bull creep out after 2 or 3 cows pop out of the timber, you see it for the 10,000th time. And it really does, even to someone who has seen it in person. A lot of these guys haven't seen it, and gals too, haven't seen it in person yet. They start to internalize this stuff, and you get out in the woods with them, and it's just like, I mean, you know, this stuff is special. It really is. This is some of the greatest. These are the greatest encounters, whether it's with a goblin tom that comes barreling down because he thinks you're a hot hen or whatever it is. You know, it just gets destroyed by the sheer numbers of photographs and videos and claims that are made on YouTube and social media. That's the part that just bugs me. It's like, and then you want to look at it because obviously we love this stuff, but it does diminish it in your mind to some degree. So,
yeah, I feel like I've kind of gone full circle with it, where when I started, you know, with Instagram and stuff, I had like 50 followers that are all actually people I genuinely knew, went to college with, stuff. And it's like, yeah, posted on there. People comment, you know, 4 comments and 10 likes, and it's people I actually know. And then the count grows to 10,000 or whatever. And it's like, why am I giving this information out to all these random dudes? You know, most of them are great guys. I'm sure there's tons of nice guys, but still, like, I don't know any of them. And then now I've like gone back to delete all that, and like, you know, I kill a turkey. I killed one yesterday, and, you know, I sent a picture of me with the turkey to like 5 really close friends in my circle. People who I genuinely know they care about me, and we celebrated together. They call me, I get to tell them the story. Like that's awesome. That's what it's about. It's not, I don't know. It's just so different, you know, having your close friends you share these things with, and I don't want to tell anybody else. I don't. I've gotten where I don't care if anybody knows. I don't care if everyone on earth thinks I'm a turkey killing son of a gun. I just want to be in the shadows, and when you hear a boom in the distance, I hope it was me.
Well, and by the same token, during the late, you know, you get a few weeks into the season, that's encouragement to your buddies that you send that to. Hey, Cameron nailed one. We still got a chance. It'll, you know, same thing with elk season. Are they bugling over there yet? Yeah, I heard a bugle today. Well, hey man, I'm going to get out there. It does spur you on sometimes, because this stuff is not easy, you know, and that's the other thing. These videos, they make it look like anybody can do it. And while probably anybody can, I still believe you need to earn a little bit of it. You got to put some skin in the game and pay some dues. It's, you know, it's like shooting a 6-point bull your first time out. Then what? You know, like, there ain't many 7x7s out there. There's not very many, you know, even Pope and Young or Boone and Crockett qualifying animals out there to begin with. It has to be about more than that. And without saying it too many times, it just gets diminished, and that's the bummer.
Yep.
I had a question I wanted to ask the group just because I'm curious since y'all are from different regions and kind of specialize in different species than me as far as hunting, like your main passion, I guess. How has like access and opportunity to hunt been impacted for each of you guys?
So yeah, and this was the top question I wanted to ask. So yeah, I want to get a sense because you guys have all been at it for a long time. Yeah, what would you, and just not just access, but please comment on access. But yeah, just hunt quality. Maybe like what's going on. Like, okay, all season, all hunting season. On any given day, you have options. Like that's maybe not the best way to say it, but like, okay, so there's all kinds of variables that go into hunt quality. Access, drawing a tag. Did you draw the tag this year that you wanted, or can you not even hunt for that species this year because you didn't get the tag? Crowding. So just in general, if you could discuss what the arc through time has been for the quality and satisfaction hunting's brought you.
Wow. Well, I'll just use Colorado as an example. So what I came here in 91, and now populations were high and everything, but as an archery hunter,
elk and deer populations.
Deer populations were at record highs then.
Oh, really?
Oh my God!
What was it? A sequence of good years, or?
Yeah, they're not sure. I mean, the mule deer, the more they look at the historic data, they think it was just there was a decade where they were out of whack numbers, just so high. Elk were, the bottom line was there wasn't pressure. There just wasn't, and so they were everywhere. And I, came here as a whitetail sit in a tree stand hunter back then, and I don't remember days where I wasn't into elk in the early '90s as a clueless, Midwest guy tromping around with my bow, and but the biggest thing is there were no people, none. I mean, our rifle season there were people, and this was everything in the whole state was over the counter. Buy as many, just show up, and now it's a totally different ballgame. I mean, it has changed so drastically in those 20, 30 years. And the biggest thing is the crowds and the pressure, is just unbelievable. And it's, Matt, you and I've talked about this. It's the one thing I don't get. If hunters' numbers are falling, why in the world does everyone say the same thing about crowds, places to go, all those things? I don't understand those numbers.
And they're not. I mean, they're not falling. I mean, according to the two sources of data on this, which is the Fish and Wildlife Service survey that comes out every 5 years and hunting license sales. So according to both those sources of data, there's only been a 10-year period in U.S. history when there's been more hunters than there are right now. And that was from 1975 to 1985 when there was way more land to hunt.
Yes.
Precisely. Colorado's not over the counter for elk anymore, right? You have to draw, or is that just?
No. For first and second season, it's still there's parts it's getting less and less
for residents, right? Isn't it? It's all for non-residents. It's a now.
Yeah, my brothers have to draw to come hunt there now, I believe.
Yeah, for archery, it's still a lot. You could still get over the counter
as a non-resident.
Oh, okay. And even in the areas they're going to, they're still selling the same amount of draw permits. It's like, well, you didn't change the picture here if you continue to sell that many. And I mean, Colorado is, we still give 30% of the tags to non-residents, whereas every other Western state is 10 or less. So it's, I mean, I get it. It's a lot of money for the state and for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, but it's just changed so much as far as the number of people. And what's really changed is I'm still I still go in the backcountry pretty far with a pack on my back, killing myself. And man, the people that are grinding it back there with all the fancy equipment, it's pretty crazy. Because those
So
places used
I
to
want to
be,
dilate on this. I want to dilate on for just a second. Are there places that you hunted in the early 90s that you still hunt?
no,
Okay.
no.
If you did, I was going to ask you to take us through a day hunting then versus now. Maybe the
And
exercise.
you just didn't. You could go. You didn't have to get that far off the road, man. That was it was accessible, and you were going to have quality hunting relatively, short hike from your car. And
And I'm
you didn't have,
imagining now you have worse hunting way back than you used to have
it's unbelievable.
close to the road back in the day.
Exactly. I mean, my elk hunts now, either muzzleloader or archery, is I take an ATV for 5 miles and I put on a pack and I hike for a couple more miles, and then I just, hunker down because I got to get it. If you get away from people, it can be a phenomenal, if you find that place that hasn't been all disturbed, it's great, but it's changed radically.
Robert, how would you describe how things have changed, if at all, in Oregon?
Well, Oregon, as an archery hunter, I think it was 5 years ago, everything that was east of the Cascades used to be able to hunt on a general archery tag. And then you could bounce around, meaning you could hunt almost the entire state. You'd run over east early, check it out, come back, hunt your home area, go to the coast. You could really bounce around. Now, everything that is east of the Cascades is locked up. It's a draw. And some of them are 1-point draws. We still have relatively good general archery tags for non-residents too, but everything is relegated to the west side of the Cascade Mountains. We've got the born and raised guys, nice guys, of course, but one of the things that they put on the internet about 10 years ago was something they call the Cat Road Shuffle, which they ride mountain bikes down the ridge and bugle every 100 yards. And then everybody else started doing, a lot of guys driving, 5-inch exhaust, no muffler Dodges down the ridge and bugling, turning motors on and off. So we saw an effect from that directly out here. It was like, oh, those guys said this works, so we're going to do that. And again, whatever. I got no beef with any of these people directly, but the reality is it affects people. I had the same conversation with this shed crazy guy. I told you that story about the stupid 4-yard archery shot and 50-mile-an-hour wind. When you put something on the internet, somebody will try it. Cameron Haynes shot a ketone IQ bottle off somebody's head. Well, it was a trick, like an archer shooting an apple or whatever. People are affected by this stuff. So, but overall, it's people, and it's the mentality of, I've got to kill something. You get somebody out there year 1, year 2, even, and your archery elk hunting, which is a 3% success rate for a branch antlered bull here. That's the club you enter when you kill a bull. And they want it right now, no matter what. They just want it right now. And there's some dues that need to be paid, and it'd be nice if people would start to learn about the animal, the habitat, all the stuff, right? So you get this mentality out here. It leaked out kind of that we have good elk hunting here in Oregon, and it's people. I can't tell you how often couple spots, like Scott said, that, the spots, you don't have to go 10 miles in. You jump out and check them, and someone will pull right in, park next to your truck, and come right in behind you. I mean, and that to me is something, I don't know about you guys. I could guess, but I would never do that. During
No.
archery season, I'd never I wouldn't go cast out a lure next to a guy
I wouldn't do it for myself, let alone the other person. I don't want to be
Right.
like
Right.
getting sloppy seconds off some dude that's a quarter mile ahead of me up the trail or whatever.
Right. It's just for what I can tell, the crowds have increased, and also the mentality of people. It's a must. They have to have it, and it just doesn't work that way. It's not running out and picking apples. It's hunting. I mean, it requires more of you than just the end result, which is the era we live in. It's instant gratification. I got to have that photo of me in the silk. Everyone needs to see it. That will elevate me to the next level. Then where do you go from there? You're chasing the dragon constantly, and it's like elk or elk. There's nothing else beyond that really for us here in Oregon. But, overall, I have to say, aside of the people, the access is dwindling. We have a large outfit out here. It's one of the largest warehouser. They're a logging and lumber outfit. They also make paper products, but they've locked up tons, millions of acres. And what they started doing,
that used to be open to hunting, and now they lease it. Is that correct?
Exactly. And I'm sure I don't know, Scott probably knows about this more than anybody else, but I've seen leases in Missouri, Joe, that were Weyerhaeuser leases. And you can jump in. It's like the Idaho elk tag. You jump online, you wait, and they say 10 o'clock, we're letting these out, and people will get either a walk-in pass or a drive-in pass. And then they have ATV passes as well.
But they're selling them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And they're gated at the front. And if you don't have that pass, you have no access to that at all. So you need that pass, whether it's a walk-in or a motorized. But they make, tons of money, and they own a lot of really good, productive ground.
And it wasn't like that 20 years ago when you moved to Oregon?
Absolutely not. No.
When did they start?
I want to say, and this would be, slowly over time. Oh, there's you roll up to the spot. There's a big yellow gate there now with a lock on it, and there's a sign that says no access. I would call it 15 to 20 years. And I know a lot of guys that have been hunting here. A really good buddy of mine's been hunting here his whole life, and he's in his 70s, and he complains every time we roll up to a gate. It's like, man, we used to be able to come in here and, they just lock everything down. And the irritating thing is that most of that land was public land at one point. And through whatever magic the governor and the Senate and Congress decide to do in Oregon, they make these agreements for the economy. And which is obviously important, but they have a lot of gates out there. There's tons. And then there's smaller outfits that you can come across. It's almost like you need to take time. You drive around. There's typically a phone number on the gate if you don't, if you can't find the info on your Onyx. Some of the smaller outfits would just want to know who you are, because apparently there's some liability for you to be on their property.
When you say outfit, you mean a smaller logging company that allows hunting? Okay.
Typically that or timber management, one of the two, kind of, there's kind of that in between time when people will be letting something grow, sort of, replanted, and then they're waiting that however long it is, 30 to 50 years to log it again. But it's crazy how for real the timber industry is in Oregon. I mean, you can drive by a 10-year-old area and then a 30-year-old area. And, as you move around the coast, especially, there's lots of different ways that you can hunt, but most of them these days, Weyerhaeuser, it's a big thing. People, and then the problem is you get guys truck road hunting. I mean, most of the people, if you're going to gun hunt one of those areas, it's not good hunting. I mean, you'll get into a spot or you'll spot something, and a second or two later, a big truck will come rolling through. It's just, it's not what you would think of as a great morning hunting when you're battling other people who paid the same amount of money, and then you just wind up driving out of there kind of, and I'll tell you the truth. This is an interesting story. I had joined a lease about 10 years ago that someone offered to me. It was only $500, and I have two daughters, and one of them was getting ready to be of hunting age. And I thought, let me get into this controlled area and sort of see if I can make things kind of controlled and nice for her on her first kill and get her sort of going. And that place was an absolute nightmare. All the surrounding property owners, because it was a Weyerhaeuser property, those people couldn't stand the fact that they weren't allowed in there anymore. And their property lines abutted the property of this old logging area. And it actually also backed up to the watershed for down in Portland. And they were so upset to the point that they were putting tire spikes on the dirt roads. And when I had joined the lease, the guy that was managing it said, "Hey, go kind of slow and pay attention to the road," because they had lost like 20 tires to these 3 or 4 inch spikes. And I mean, you think about
that's 5 vehicles for people that aren't good at division.
yeah, it's and that was so. One morning, the opening morning when I took her in there, of course, a couple of the neighbors that didn't pay to be in there came bugling up the power line trail, and I decided that we were going to leave. Well, I go to get out to try to leave, and they had jammed wood into the lock, the keyhole of the lock. I couldn't get out.
Oh, that's dirty pool.
But this is just like one of a gajillion stories about this place. So I call OSP, Oregon State Patrol, and a very cool officer showed up. Well, pulls out these 3-foot long lever clippers, gets the lock off, and I said, "Hey, when you go in there, watch out for these spikes." I said it's really it's crazy. So he said, "Okay, thanks," and I thanked the guy and took his card actually. And I had been hearing something wrong with the brakes on my truck, so I drove down to a Les Schwab, if anybody from the West Coast knows that name, the big tire outfit. And I'm sitting there and I have to wait. What do you know? An hour later, his truck rolls in on a flatbed, both front tires of the OSP truck flat.
Damn! So do you think that they came along and put out the road spikes between when you left? Or did he go on some road that you hadn't gone on?
It could have been either, but to be honest with you, I thought, okay, OSP has 2 flat tires. They're going to go in there and blow this place up, right? They didn't do anything. So that was my lease experience. I was like, okay, this doesn't seem like something that is A, worth the money, or B, worth the headaches. And then they're always wanting you to report people. These leases, these guys that manage them, oh, that person's not supposed to be here. Go talk to them. I'm not trying to pay money to police an area. I'm trying to hunt there if I'm going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that was my lease experience. It was absolute nightmare.
Well, that's heartening. The more shitty lease experiences I hear about, the better.
Yeah, I mean, and I could say that, they're not cheap. They're certainly not cheap. And but they are out there, and Weyerhaeuser is one of the biggest holders out here. So if you can contend with them, but again, I'm an eternal optimist. I can't wait for September this year and know that if one encounter to me is worth the season. So, but to cap it, the hunting's okay, but the access has dwindled for sure, just like everywhere else. And people have taken on a little bit of a different demeanor out there in the woods.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like my hunting's pretty decent where I live, but it's just I've watched it get worse and worse and worse and worse. But it's still good, decent. But like, where does it end?
Right.
All right, Joe. What's been what's happened to your experience through time?
I bought the property that I live on, and it's small, less than 40 acres. Bought it in 2002. I worked in Des Moines, and I lived in the greater Des Moines area, and my permission hunting opportunities were shrinking rapidly. And, we've already talked about kind of the impact of the competitive hunting influencer mindset in a lot of people was kind of spreading. So I kind of saw some handwriting on the wall, and my wife and I took a risk and borrowed against our house and were able to buy this place. It was a little bit cheaper to come into Missouri. Missouri at the time didn't have quite the well, even now, I think, Iowa's got quite the reputation as a whitetail destination, and North Missouri is pretty close, but doesn't quite keep up. In that 20, what is that, 22, 23 years, I've seen an unbelievable change take place in terms of the way hunting goes on here and land access.
Because you don't only hunt that land where you live.
Correct. I hunt. I have permission on some neighbors, and I mean I leave the state. I travel, but just kind of to make the conversation workable, I'll confine things to primarily in and around my footprint where I own or neighbors. When I first came here, I'll tell you it was kind of crazy. There was a lot of road hunting, a lot of poaching, cut fences. It was just kind of the culture. There were kind of some bandits and just local people that didn't have a lot of respect for property lines. And a lot of the farmers thought it was impolite to tell anyone they couldn't be there. So if it was a local license plate, as long as they didn't tear things up too badly, it was kind of anything goes. And that wasn't a great environment. I'll admit, I don't think that was entirely safe. And I think there were a lot of deer that were killed and left to lay and just, a lot of bullshit. But I was kind of the first wave, really, of the privatization of hunting land. Before it was just ag land that they couldn't get a tractor into was hunting land. And myself, and there was another couple places in the area that people had bought for recreational use. And I had a little cabin that I put on it, with the hope to live the way I am now. But as you see, it took a long time. Little by little, that started to diminish. The road hunting decreased. More posted signs went up. But all of the people, at least in that first wave of it, were people that were losing money to be there, if that makes sense. They had bought a piece of property and at least they were hunting it with their family and paying the bills on it. They weren't making a profit off of it. And gradually, leases started to work in. In fact, of all the people that were in the area, sort of outsiders that came into this area and bought hunting ground, I'm the only one left. Everybody else sold out and moved on. And then I ended up, making a life here. But leases and outfitters have swallowed up enormous tracts of North Missouri and southern Iowa. And there are a lot of names that everybody would know own properties within 45 minutes of where I am right now. Some of the big name TV or internet celebrities own ground in this area. And then outfitters shade off of what they don't, haven't bought up. And then there are just, like I said, a lot of properties that are just straight up leases, and there are lease brokers. On the other end of it, encroaching in the other direction, the area I am is very, very rural. So we're not seeing a lot of like suburban housing developments, but modern farming practices is something that I think doesn't get discussed a lot in this setting. And I think it's important to look at that as well. The aggressive tiling, draining of what used to be kind of, sloughs and waterways and brushy areas that were, I've noticed that particularly in our turkey population. Everybody's trying to figure out where all the turkeys went. And it's like, well, you drive around, 5 years ago, all of that was tall grass, or there were ditches all through that field. There were fence rows, and the farmers around here, and they're relatively, I don't want to say corporate farmers, but these are guys that are farming thousands of acres. There are some small family farms, but they're mostly Amish. Beyond that, the large row crop areas or cattle operations are people that are owning and renting enormous tracts of farmland. And most of them have their own heavy equipment. So when they're not working their crops, they're out in the winter pushing back timber, pushing back brush, tiling off things so that they'll drain, and they can literally fence row to fence row, farming everything. There is not a whole lot of slewy stuff left. I'm not a biologist. I can't prove that, but that's definitely something that I've seen happen here, that what isn't being actively hunted or leased for hunting is being farmed so intensively that anything that was in a conservation program, most of it have been taken out because, row crops bringing a better price. There were a few years ago here where like people were paying the penalty to pull out a CRP early because they were making their money. They'd rather just pull it out of the conservation program until it paid the penalty. And I think that you've seen a lot of habitat degradation on lands that are maybe accessible. If you knew someone or you could knock on a door and ask, those are just not what they used to be in terms of hunting quality. And then, of course, the other stuff is pay to play. There isn't a lot of public land access in this part of the country. Missouri does have a lot, but it's down in the southern part of the state, in the Ozarks. We have our conservation areas, like any place else, but you'll go 45 minutes to an hour in between one or the other, and they're small and relatively crowded. I've hunted them a little bit, but not a ton. I mean, I own private land, so I have it good. I personally don't have a whole lot to complain about. I haven't lost a lot of access. But if I were coming in here just, like the looks of the area and wanted to hunt, the idea that you could knock on doors and get permission to hunt if you didn't know someone, or at least they didn't recognize you, is damn near impossible. I'm not going to say you couldn't do it. Maybe you're more charming than I am, but I'd say that your chances of being able to just show up on a farm resort and one of the things that happens is you knock on a door and they're like, well, yeah, we live here and this is our land, but all the farm ground is leased out and all the hunting permission goes with that. And that farmer's got it subleased to an outfitter or, that sort of thing. So I can't put numbers to it, but I know just in the last, I think I sent something to you, Matt, in the last 4 to 5 months, I think like 850 acres around me, if I remember correctly, has gone from private ownership into private ownership by outfitters.
It's gone from what to what? Say that again.
Private landowners selling to outfitters.
Outfitters. Okay.
Private ownership, but yeah, now it's
so the outfitter now owns the land, will presumably lease it out for farming, but maintain the hunting rights.
Yes, that is correct. Most of the time, if there's row crop on it, they've worked out a deal with the farmer to leave a certain amount in food plots, and then the rest is theirs to have at. But the land itself, they're running clients through. And I don't know a lot about their operations, but I've talked to a few people who said a lot of these are box blind only. Like their clients go in and they're told, you sit in this blind, you don't come out of it. If you shoot a deer, you text me, we'll come find it. And I don't think that's necessarily a blanket on all the outfitters, but I know some operate that way, that at least the clients come in and are basically sit here, don't move, don't walk around. This is the type of deer that we expect you to hold out for, and we'll pick you up at night. And, I'm not denying that it's good for the local economy. This is not a economically booming area. So getting people coming in and going to the restaurants and staying in the local motels and gassing up their trucks and sort of things is good locally for a few weeks out of the year. But you see, this is a pretty isolated area, and it's every license plate in the country. At the local Mexican restaurant on a Saturday night during deer season, you see, people from all over. And I'm not a nativist. I'm not saying that you don't belong here if you're not from here. I don't have that issue. But it's definitely, these people are hunting land that at one time was, again, permission ground, or, at least if you knew the guy or you knew his cousin or you're friends with his kid, they'd recognize you could get on. And that's all but gone in 20 years.
And finally, Cameron, what are you seeing over time?
Yeah, so with turkey hunting specifically, I guess I'll start at local level first, and then I travel a lot to hunt, so I've seen a lot there. But locally, Tennessee, we used to have a 4-bird limit and a really good vast season, and public access here at home for me was pretty easily had. And that lots changed over the years. We went to a 3-bird limit, which I was fine with. And, that was kind of that. And then now we're at a 2-bird limit. And the 2 largest WMAs that I hunted, one 48,000 acres and the other around 15,000 acres, are both in quotas now. And a new WMA not a new WMA, but there's a new quota on another WMA that's nearby that just happened this year. And then also another one went into quota a few years ago. And it's because of pressure. It's just too many people. I mean, they'll tell you that's why. It's too many people out there. That the 48,000 acre WMA, I used to hunt it a lot, several days throughout the season. I don't know, maybe an average. I say a lot. I would hunt there maybe 7 to 10 times per year, maybe more. It was a really nice place because it's so vast. You could just go and hunt all day and explore and maybe kill a turkey. It had decent populations, and seemed like about 2021, 2022, it just got crazy. I remember I parked in one spot one morning and I actually got it because I got there very early and hunted. I didn't have any luck, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to get in my truck and move and, try a different trailhead and go in. I couldn't find anywhere to park. I mean, it was like I needed a valet to park my truck so I could go in and freaking turkey hunt. I mean, it's just crazy. And, of course, then 2 years later, it's locked up in a quota. So it went from, 5 years ago, that was one of my top places. I probably hunt 10 to 12 days a year. And now if I'm lucky, I get to hunt a 2-day quota hunt every 2-3 years.
And that's from pressure, not numbers of birds.
Bird numbers went down. I mean, because they got slaughtered. I mean, it used to be like a 30, 40 birds per year off the 40 something thousand acres, and it went to 90 or something crazy. When the number, you get more people with guns out there every day this season, you kill more birds.
Sure.
And so it's from a pressure standpoint. And so locally, I feel like I've lost a lot of access publicly, and public hunting's a lot harder. I mean, I hunted this morning, for instance. Great example. I got up at 3:20 this morning and got to my, I always have plan A, B, C, D, and E. And I got to plan A spot very early before daylight. And there was 2 trucks on the trail going in. I was like, well, that's fine. I'm going to the end of this trail. And I got to the end, another guy there. So I pulled off. Hey, man, what's going on? It's a big chunk of land. I told him, I'm not coming in on you. Just, letting you know, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And he was like, yeah, man, I've been here over an hour already. And I was like, you got to be kidding. I can't get up much earlier than 3:20 and still function at work. Like, my gosh. And then I went to B, C, D, and E, and people at all of them. So I just went to some random spot I've never been. Didn't hear any gobbles or anything. It was a pretty terrible looking piece of woods. Probably the only reason nobody was there. But just this morning, I mean, that was my experience. But, for turkey hunting specifically, I feel like what's changed a lot with industry type stuff, the early VHSs and DVDs that came out with some of these hunting celebrities, most all of them were hunting private land. And they would be like, we're here with so-and-so outfitters. And part of the reason they did the videos was to promote the outfitter.
Yeah.
And now it's YouTube, specifically 2 very popular channels, The Hunting Public and the Pinhoti Project with Dave Owens. It's public land hunting is the badge of honor now. And it's they've really promoted, you need to go hunt public land. You need to hunt public land. And it's just driving more people there. And for whatever reason, guys feel like if they kill a gobbler off of state forest or public land that they've get an extra patch, an extra Boy Scout patch or something. And I'm like, if Farmer Brown lets me hunt his land and I kill his private turkey, I feel just as good. I mean, I don't care. I have fun turkey hunting. But it's just cause overcrowding. I feel like that's when it's changed. And turkey hunters specifically, maybe this is all across the board, but as far as opportunity to hunt, I feel like turkey hunters have taken it on the chin in this country in the past 5 years, especially in the Southeast. and especially for non-residents. It's like a war going on between states of limiting opportunity, and it just kind of pushes it to the next state and to the next state and the next state. So just to reference a few things that have happened, and this is in the past 5 years, most of which occurred the past 3 years. Kansas is now a draw for non-residents. Kansas used to be like the mecca of turkey hunting. Kansas is a draw, total draw. Nebraska has a set number of tags, first come, first serve. They sold out in 2 weeks the first year. They sold out in 2 days the second year. This year they sold out in less than a day. Let's see. Florida just passed a few months ago, actually about a month ago. Non-residents are banned in South Florida for the first 9 days of season, and they're limiting all quota hunts to 10% for non-residents. So, for instance, a quota hunt down there I used to do took 4 points. I didn't draw it this past year with 6 points, and now it's limited to 10%. So it may be a decade before I hunt there.
And that South Florida is an area that has received an incredible amount of media attention over the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Pinhoti Project specifically name dropped Big Cypress WMA, which, heck, I'm doing it right now. But, hey, it doesn't matter because you can't hunt there anymore for 10 days. But Big Cypress WMA was name dropped, where they're hunting showed success there. Step one, a huge chunk of Big Cypress got put into a quota hunt. This was 2 years ago. Stage 2, this year they just passed non-residents cannot hunt there the first 10 days of season. So it's in quota, and now you can't hunt it for 10 days. I mean, that's a direct influence from an influencer name dropping a place and getting more people there. I hunted there after it got name dropped. And I literally ran into 16 guys my one morning there wearing a Pinhoti logo hat.
Unbelievable.
It's like I saw the direct correlation, the Bottomland rope hat with the turkey track on it.
Hey, Cameron, you're talking about Nebraska. I hunted the Nebraska National Forest the last year that before Nebraska went to the 10,000 tag quota.
Yeah.
It was 1 or 2 years after Randy Newberg's crew hunted there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was
people everywhere.
It was like Yellowstone. I mean, just lines of trucks. Huh. And we went to the ranger station. We just tried to get some intel, and they said every trailhead, because what Nebraska opens, I think their bow season opens in mid-March. It's early.
Yeah, they do a super early bow season.
They said every trailhead has been packed since opening day of bow season. And we were there in May.
Unreal.
Getting hammered by people. And then the next year is when they went to that limited. And that's stressful. If you're buying a Nebraska turkey tag, you're on there, refresh and trying to buy it.
Yeah. They sold out in 1 day this year.
Yeah.
I mean, and Nebraska and Kansas used to be the mecca. And the other place that you always heard about was the Black Hills in South Dakota.
Yeah.
It's now a draw. It went to a draw this year. And I mean, I know people who didn't draw. So and that's like 1 million acres or something crazy. That's a draw now for non-resident turkey hunters. Yeah. And then, your state, Joe, Missouri emailed me, 2 weeks ago with a survey because I bought a turkey license in Missouri in the past 2 years.
Yep.
Asking me what my thoughts were on non-resident hunters. They're going to be next. They're about to ban us too at some point.
It's coming. I don't know that it will be. It might take 5 years. Missouri moves slowly, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's just ping-ponging around until it's going to be everywhere. Mississippi, that's another example. Non-residents, 1,200 tags. It's a draw. For the first 2 weeks of the season, to hunt any public land in Mississippi, you have to draw. First year, it was 98% odds of drawing. Second year was 80%. Third year went to 50-50. This year, it was record absent at less than 40% odds. I mean, I could go on forever. It's just like everyone's doing it now. There's what's called the Super Slam is trying to kill a turkey in all 49 states that have turkeys, which is all of them but Alaska. and it's literally like some guy started turkey hunting 2 years ago, and now he's a super slammer, bro. And he, like, you go knock on some guy's door in upper Wisconsin in the most rural area you've ever been, and you ask them, hey, would you mind if I turkey hunt it? I'm trying to get a turkey in every state. And they're like, oh, yeah, I had some boys from Mississippi doing that last week. And there's a guy from Ohio up here 2 weeks ago.
Unreal.
It's crazy. We got off an airplane and like not even in camo, and just had our gun cases. And the rental car guy was like, y'all trying to get a turkey in every state? We were like, what is going on? What is going on? This guy doesn't even hunt. He knows. Like, everybody does this now.
Hey, Cameron, did you catch in that Missouri questionnaire? This is something that I think might be germane to the whole conversation. One of the questions Missouri's asking is, would you favor banning, I'm overstating it, but basically banning non-residents from hunting public lands in wildlife management areas? That's one of the options you can pick when you fill out this survey. And I personally, my area, because we don't have a lot of public land in the area, I think that's just going to feed the outfitters. So
if I was a resident, I'd mark yes.
You see the other side of it. Like, I'd like to have this for residents only. I think it was state wildlife management areas. Yeah. So entertaining the possibility of making state lands inaccessible to non-residents, which I don't know what everybody thinks about that. I don't know where it goes. I don't know how it is. That was new to me, though, to hear that idea.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing with turkey hunting specifically. I'm sure in other facets of hunting this is going on too, but that's my main gig that I travel for and stuff, and it is getting outrageous. And like you said, this Missouri survey was eye-opening, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a humongous state.
Yeah.
It has a past tradition of turkey hunting. It's always been a stronghold of turkey hunting, and they're considering banning people from hunting their public land or limiting how many can, and just getting crazy. I mean, one extreme example too is Nevada. Nevada is one of the hardest states to get a turkey in because it's a freaking desert. They don't have many turkeys. And what's happening out there, I can't even go into it all the way, but it's just like, it's so sad. They've had to close several of the wildlife areas to hunting. And now the private land even is being leased out by this guy, like a California guide is leasing it all up in the whole valley and charging $4,000 per turkey. And
unreal.
He's booked out for like 5 years already. And
what species is down there?
It's the Rio. But it's because of the chasing 49 thing. He's basically cornered the market of, if you want 49 states, you come give me $4,000. That price is just going to go up. This is just starting. It's going to go up because people pay it. You kill in 48 states, and you're like, man, if I could pay money and get one more and get them all.
Oh man, I'm gonna get some poults and bring him to my cabin in Southeast Alaska.
There you go.
I'll be like, and then I'll just charge people to get the 50th state.
Yeah, you could do $10,000 a bird. Let them shoot a hen or something. $10,000. Oh,
so Matt, Cameron, do your states have all of you guys really? Do you all have fall hunts for turkey too, or just spring?
Tennessee does have a fall hunt. That's something they've cut back on too. It's now 1 week season with a one bearded bird limit. It used to be a little too liberal, in my opinion. It used to be like several weeks, and it was 5 birds either sex, which is a little much. But fall season, most of the states in the Southeast, fall, nobody hunts the fall. And they keep cutting the fall. So they closed fall hunting on all the public land in West Tennessee where I am. And I emailed them and asked why. And anyway, I was like, what? Actually, I called the commissioner. I was like, what's going on? Why'd y'all close the fall season? He said, well, it's just, we're trying to conserve the turkeys here. They're not doing like the word. I'm like, well, how many birds were killed on public land in West Tennessee last year in the fall? 6. On all of it.
Wow.
couple 100,000 acres. He killed 6, and we're close. That's going to save the turkey right there. And I know who killed 2 of them, and he's right here. I killed a third of the turkey from public land. Yeah. So they basically banned me from hunting the public land. Anyway.
So, Matt, what always goes through my head when I get into conversations like this is the same thing. If we could snap our finger today and the hunting media disappear, what would change?
So, yeah, it's a question of hysteresis. So hysteresis is a thing of physics. Like, do things work the same way in reverse as they do forward? So you inject hunting promotion and R3. I don't know if R3 has a big impact or not. The reason I hate R3, like nonprofits and the hunting industry engaging in hunting recruitment, is because if they cared about the sportsman, they would be doing the opposite R3. They'd be trying to like ensure people were hunting for the right reasons and not trying to grow the community. They'd be just trying to keep it stable. But so yeah, another way. So you inject media, you inject R3, and we see where we end up. We end up with low access, high crowding, more restrictions in terms of tag allocations, etc. So if you take the media out, what happens? I don't. I think it would have I think it would have a big positive effect, but I don't think it'll happen.
No.
I think that if, let's just say that it became taboo to post dead stuff on social media, I think there would be less competition for tags.
Yep.
If the hunting public stopped putting stuff on YouTube, I think there'd be less competition for tags. I mean, I think that hunting becoming cool, something that you do to draw attention to yourself, if that went away, I think that hunting would improve for people that do it for the traditional reasons of hide, horns, meat, and personal satisfaction. That'd be my guess. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but when I started this thing, it was like, I think that hunting is going to get worse. If it does get better, it's because we as a community have decided to do certain things, and I'm advocating for those things, even though there's a low probability that we're actually going to do them. That was a long-winded answer.
No, it's a good answer.
Have y'all seen on social media, like, people will post like a photo of their successful draw application? That just always blows my mind, because I'm like, it's like
I've heard Scott go off on this before.
It's like that's part of the competition now too. Like, oh yeah, I got my tag, and I'm like, okay, cool. You just showed everyone, to lessen your odds next year. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, and oddly enough, I do some volunteer work out here for the agency, hunter safety stuff, and they're engaged in social media. That the agency's engaged. They feel like every other agency, it's important. It's a way to reach people. It's a way to push. But when I get a hold of kids in a field day at the end for, not a hold of them, but when I get their attention, which is very hard to do these days, I try to mention to them, hey, listen, you don't need to show everybody what you did. And I said, in fact, you could be the coolest kid right now by not showing anybody at all and keeping it for yourself and remembering it, because, we give these things away, just like somebody mentioned, I can't remember who, but what'd you have for lunch? What'd you have for supper? What shoes are you wearing today? And all this stuff. Like, is your life really your life anymore? It all turns digital. And I mean, I know there's a lot of people that want that, but one of the biggest audiences that we have right now is the kids, and trying to get them on board with understanding that You don't have to tell anybody. You don't, it's not that, it is a big deal, but that big deal, that's for you. Like you're gonna get, you could potentially be ridiculed if a vegan jumps on your post and wants to have that argument. And like I had told Matt not too long ago, I had an interaction on Instagram because I'm still on there, and I don't spend a lot of time on there, but I kind of enjoy finding ridiculous posts and then seeing if I can get them to take them down. And I've been successful in a couple of times, but you have to show these guys, they're not, I don't think they're dumb. I think they're just so caught up, you know, and the content thing, that's the thing that kills it too. Just like you guys said earlier, there's a constant push. Cam Hanes has got to be, somebody sent me the Casey Brooks pending world record elk thing, the interview the other day, and those guys apparently didn't like each other. And I started listening to it for about 10 minutes, and I'm like, I don't care what this is about. I don't want to spend my time listening to this. But Cam, he's got to go and he's got to put stuff out. That's his job now. I mean, he used to work in public health, the water stuff down in Eugene. That's kind of my field as well. And I knew who he was from that vein of things at one point, but it's just strange. We've got to make it uncool somehow. I think, to your point, Scott, if it all went away, we could start, peacefully, but also being like, look, you made a bad decision. Why are you showing everybody that? It doesn't, and they seem to be convinced that no one is influenced by this stuff. But at the same time, here we are afield all the time, seeing exactly what the fallout of people showing the poor decisions and the bad side of this. So, just one of those things where I think it's almost important that we kind of counteract it whenever we can. You don't want to spend too much time doing it, but sometimes you get into some interesting back and forth over stuff.
Well, I didn't hear anything tonight that made me think that we need more hunting promotion in R3, and that's my takeaway.
Yep, agreed.
Matt, if I can, I do think that there's a reality that we all see that you're not going to undo media and the way media works, and it's through every bit of society. But I think there's something to be said about, this group of us, and there's going to be another group here later in the week that you're going to interview, and there are people kind of slowly looking. Hunting still exists because hunters self-regulated. There was a point in time where hunters said overconsumption, a society that was moving towards overconsumption, one part of that society pulled back from it and said, we're going to self-regulate. And somebody had to start that ethic. Somebody had to start that concept and that idea. And maybe I'm just saying this so I can sleep tonight, because I don't have a lot of hope, but I do have a slim hope that voices like yours and this mindset, this movement, whatever you want to call it, can slowly grow by people being articulate and passionate about it. And perhaps the kids that Robert talks to, at the hunter safety course, the people that see cameras pulled back from his social media, whatever it might be, that one hunter at a time begins to have this conversation in their hunting camp with their group of people. And I don't think it would take a majority of us to positively impact this. I think it would just have to take a vocal minority that's passionate and sees this, that we're never going to do away with Cam Hanes or his type. And maybe that's not a bad thing, but I think we can grow more people like this group who are saying it. And again, I had a sense of these things, and it took a while before I stumbled on your stuff and started listening and reading. It's like, oh, okay, somebody's out there articulating a message that I've had in the back of my head, but I never was able to quite form for myself.
Yeah, I had this suspicion that when I started this, that I was going to get a groundswell of support, because I thought I was speaking for a huge number of hunters. And turn out to be the case. Either it didn't turn out to be the case, or the sorts of hunters I have in mind aren't really following hunting media that much, so they don't even know. Another example, Joe, in addition to the hunting community going, we got to regulate ourselves and focus on conservation and not over harvesting and all that. Another example would be in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, when the hunting community realized predominantly displaying dead deer on their cars wasn't helping us. And that there was magazine articles that were written discouraging people from doing that. There was little warnings about doing that printed in fish and game regulations, that sort of thing. So there's a couple examples right there of where the hunting community said this isn't serving us. Not to say that you won't see a deer on a hood somewhere this fall, but it's less prevalent than it once was.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. I got a lot out of it, and I hope you did too.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Robert. We've talked, but nice to see you.
Yeah, definitely.
And all right, well, have a good evening.
You too.
Take care.